Hello everyone. Today I'm here in Batemans Bay with Jackie Jackson, who of course is our District Manager of Aboriginal Health. And today is the day that across Australia we acknowledge that it's National Closing the Gap Day. And so that's led us to have quite a far-reaching conversation today with Jackie and the team about what does that mean generally, and what does it mean we need to do more of and focus on in our southern district. So, Jackie, I was trying to sort of get a set of words before and you were helping me, and I need you to give it in your own words, but I guess I would say, from my understanding, that closing the gap is about the imperative to have a range of strategies that assist in overcoming entrenched inequity in terms of life outcomes and life expectation for Aboriginal people. What's your thought on that, the best definition?
The best definition is about acknowledging the inequalities, and it also acknowledges the past policies of our government that have impacted on people's social and emotional wellbeing, and how we need to change the way we do business to ensure that we get health equity for Aboriginal people.
So Jackie, today with the team, and you have done some great work recently in looking at sort of a 4-pillar strategy that you're going to present to the board at the May board meeting, and it looks at areas of particular focus in Southern around governance and education and access to services, and so I guess it would be good just to have a bit of a conversation around, from a governance point of view, what do you see as the significance perhaps of having a board member who's an Aboriginal person, and what other strategies around governance do you think would make a difference to closing the gap?
I think we need to. Governance is also about accountability and about building structures that are supporting. So I think governance to ensure that we've got strong Aboriginal governance is about making sure that we're accountable to our communities, and we're held to account on how we do business, and making sure that we meet the needs of the community and have that cultural lens on everything we do. Because without that we are hit and miss as such.
So I just think for the staff, it's important perhaps to get you to reflect a bit as well on the access to services, and what the team were talking about today was the importance of, particularly with these new developments that we've got, of Aboriginal people feeling that they are culturally safe and welcoming environments. And we talk particularly about what would be the hallmarks of such a development with the new hospital at Uradella, in fact with what's happening at Goulburn. So do you just want to reflect for everyone about the significance and the importance of getting the feel of the environment right?
I think it's very important to get the environment right, because if you don't feel comfortable in an environment, then that's going to impede on how you heal and how you actually engage. And so if you've got negative environments, you will get negative outcomes. Something that resonated with me the other day, that Alan, our chair, said that if you walk past something and it's substandard, that's what you were expected to get. So I think that it's really important that we achieve, we aim for a gold star so we can give a gold star.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important that we make that resonate with our community and with our service provision, and ensure that we've got the workforce to engage and support that.
And so I guess another key thing in health is that closing the gap is about constant conversation and cultural awareness, and that's a real challenge to get that right. One of the things that we were talking about before was the importance of education around cultural safety and cultural awareness to be an ongoing focus of the health service, and you mentioned about the importance of telling stories.
Yes, I think it's very much so. We often start meetings and executive meetings with a patient story, and it's no different. But when we have an Aboriginal family, they often want to tell us a story, and we have to listen to that address some of that stuff, because sometimes our staff will go into a home and we will be there to see a patient, but we may need to address 6 other things before we leave that home, before we know that we're going to meet the engagement needs of that family. So I think it's about being able to be flexible, to be able to have that cultural competence. And cultural competence is not a one-off. It is about ongoing education and learning and sharing of stories, because if we don't listen, if I've learned anything from leadership, it's about active listening, reflective listening, and also then what are you going to do with all that information? So you've actually got to act on it. So active listening, you know, or reflective listening is all a part of that. So I think, to us, I think co-designing service delivery for our people with us, so nothing for us without us, is very much in the fore of what we do.
So I suppose just in finishing off the other area that we've focused on in conversation today in terms of Southern's, I guess, renewed focus on closing the gap is a commitment to reviewing the structure of Aboriginal health from an employment and a career development and opportunity point of view, and finding pathways that not only support the needs of the community we serve, but pathways that are exciting career development pathways for Aboriginal health staff.
Yeah, I think it's really important to acknowledge that not all staff that are working in Aboriginal health, there is other Aboriginal people that work across our district in other disciplines that are in mainstream roles, but I think it's also about acknowledging and developing career pathways for Aboriginal health workers and other Aboriginal people in general, because the ministry have got, you know, they've got KPIs that we need to meet, but I'd like to think that we could be leaders in encouraging Aboriginal people to take some control and to develop an interest and nurture that interest into nursing, pathology, whatever discipline you want. And I think that we need to really be proactive in that space about, you know, leadership into health careers.
Yeah, wonderful. So I guess, Jackie, just for everyone to think about, we talked today that the setting of Southern's new strategic plan to guide our focus and endeavour for the next 5 years presents some really excellent, well, an opportunity, but also an imperative really, for us to take those key strategies that go to the heart of genuinely closing the gap and building them in to the KPIs of Southern's endeavour for the next 5 years. So thank you and your team for your great engagement and your great ideas. I really look forward to working with you as the focus on closing the gap in Southern becomes a very immediate focus for the board, the executive and the staff generally. Thanks, Jackie.
Thank you for having us.